At 34, I've spent more than half my life being the glue that holds my family together. My name is Lauren, and for years, I've shouldered burdens no one else would touch. When my mom passed away, I became the default parent to my younger brother, Ethan, who's now 30. He just got promoted to vice president at his tech company, a role he wouldn't have landed without me. I was the one staying up late helping him rewrite his resume, rehearsing interview answers until my throat was raw, and even dipping into my savings to buy him a laptop when he couldn't afford one after college. But none of it mattered when it came time for him to celebrate his big promotion. Ethan didn't just forget to invite me. He deliberately excluded me. The worst part? It wasn't just him, it was my dad too. They dismissed me like I was nothing, as if all those years of sacrifice were meaningless. My heart sank when I realized how easily they could erase me from their lives. And yet, this betrayal felt like only the beginning. Deep down, I knew something darker was lurking beneath the surface. What happens when someone gives everything but gets only silence in return? For me, it was about to become a breaking point, one that would change everything. When Ethan announced his promotion party, I never imagined I'd be left off the guest list. Not because I'm some distant cousin or live across the country. I'm only an hour away. But because, according to Dad, I'm too much. Too loud. Too demanding. Too everything. The call from Ethan came late Tuesday night. "Hey sis, guest list for the promotion party's set. Had to trim it. Hope you get it. Love you." Trim it? My stomach churned as I stared at those words. Trim it down to who? Strangers? People he barely knew, but somehow ranked higher than me? I tried calling Dad first, my voice tight with disbelief. "Ethan says I'm not invited. What's going on?" His response was classic, dismissive and sharp. "It's just a party, Lauren. Don't overreact." They had to cut somewhere. Overreact? This wasn't about a party. It was about erasure. But before I could press further, Ethan chimed in with a lie so smooth it stung. He told Dad, and later our extended family, that I declined the invitation because I was busy with work. Busy? I hadn't even been asked. And yet, here I was, painted as the selfish one, the sister who couldn't bother to show up for her own brother's big moment. The betrayal deepened when I opened Instagram later that evening. Ethan had posted a teaser photo of the rooftop venue, a glittering skyline backdrop, string lights casting a golden glow, and a caption boasting, "Only the best for my big night." No mention of me. Worse still, when I scrolled through his follower list, I realized he'd unfollowed me. Unfollowed. As if severing that digital thread would erase years of support, sacrifice, and love. My chest tightened, each breath feeling heavier than the last. How could he do this? How could they both act like I didn't matter? I sat there, phone trembling in my hand, scrolling through old photos of us, Ethan and me. Memories flooded back, driving 2 hours after a double shift at the diner to pick him up when his high school sweetheart dumped him, helping him pack boxes in the rain after he got evicted, lending him $500 for rent despite knowing he'd never repay me. All those moments, all that effort, reduced to nothing. Now, instead of gratitude, I was met with silence, or worse, lies. My father's words echoed in my head. "Don't make it a thing." A thing? Being excluded from my brother's life wasn't just a thing. It was a knife twisting deeper into wounds I didn't know were still raw. As I stared at Ethan's post, something inside me snapped. The comments rolled in, friends congratulating him, asking where I was. One brave soul even wrote, "Where's Lauren though?" But Ethan ignored them, letting the question hang unanswered. It was deliberate, calculated. A public erasure. Each notification felt like another layer of salt rubbed into the wound. I wanted to scream, to demand answers, but what good would it do? They'd already decided I was expendable, replaceable. That night, I lay awake, replaying every conversation, every dismissal. I thought about the rumors Ethan spread last fall, claiming I badmouthed his success out of jealousy. I thought about the Thanksgiving dinner where Dad drunkenly accused me of being too tough on him. And now this, the ultimate slap in the face. I wasn't just uninvited. I was erased, rewritten out of his narrative. For the first time, I let myself feel the full weight of their betrayal. It wasn't just hurt, it was rage. Quiet, simmering, undeniable rage. The weight of my sacrifices for Ethan isn't something I can quantify. It's etched into every late night, every missed opportunity, and every ounce of energy I poured into keeping him afloat. When Mom passed away, the cracks in our family widened overnight. Dad drowned himself in whiskey, leaving me to pick up the pieces. At 19, I wasn't just a sister. I became a surrogate parent, a counselor, and a lifeline for Ethan, who was only 15 at the time. He floundered without Mom's guidance, failing sophomore year and spiraling into self-pity. I remember driving 2 hours after a double shift at the diner, my hands still reeking of grease, just to get him home after his high school sweetheart dumped him. That night, he sat slumped in my passenger seat, tears streaming down his face, while I silently vowed to always protect him. But protecting Ethan came at a cost they never acknowledged. Like the time he lost his first apartment because he couldn't pay rent. It was pouring rain when I got the call. I had an important job interview scheduled that morning, one I'd prepared for weeks. But instead of walking into that office, I stood outside his building, hauling soggy boxes down 4 flights of stairs while Ethan sulked in the corner, blaming everyone but himself. My shoes were soaked, my clothes clung to me like a second skin, and by the time we finished, my voice was hoarse from yelling at movers who refused to help in such weather. The interview? I missed it. And with it, any chance of landing a better-paying job to ease my own financial burden. Then there was the $500 I sent him last fall, a desperate plea over the phone, his voice trembling as he promised, "I'll pay you back, Lauren, I swear." I believed him. Not because I trusted his track record, he'd borrowed before and rarely repaid, but because I wanted to believe he could change. So I dipped into my savings, scraping together what little I had left after months of cutting corners on groceries and skipping dinners out. That money meant ramen noodles for weeks, but I told myself it was worth it if it kept him stable. Spoiler alert, he didn't repay me. Instead, he used part of it to buy a new gaming console, something he proudly posted online while ignoring my texts asking how he was doing. And yet, the cruelest blow came not from Ethan's actions, but from the lies he spread about me. Last Thanksgiving, I overheard him laughing with our cousins, spinning tales of how jealous I was of his success. "She can't handle me shining," he said, his words sharp enough to cut glass. I froze mid-bite, the fork clattering against my plate. Was this how they saw me? A bitter, envious sister too petty to celebrate her own brother's achievements? Worse, Dad bought into it hook, line, and sinker. Later that evening, he pulled me aside, his breath sour with wine, and muttered, "Support his shine, Lauren. He's finally getting it together." Their betrayal stung deeper than anything else. How dare they twist my sacrifices into envy? How dare they paint me as the villain when all I'd done was carry them through their darkest moments? The truth is, Ethan doesn't want support. He wants validation without accountability. And Dad, he's too blind to see the damage he's caused by favoring Ethan at every turn. They've built their narrative around me being too much, but what they really mean is that I'm inconvenient. I'm the reminder of their failures, the mirror reflecting their flaws. And now, as I sit here staring at Ethan's latest post, a glossy photo of him grinning in his blazer, they've erased me entirely. No mention of the woman who proofread his resume, rehearsed his interviews, or bailed him out when no one else would. Just silence. I couldn't let it go, not without answers. My fingers trembled as I dialed Dad's number, the weight of Ethan's text still pressing on my chest. "Dad?" I began, my voice tight. "Ethan says I'm not invited to his promotion party. What's going on?" His response was immediate, a dismissive sigh that felt like a slap. "It's just a party, Lauren. Don't overreact." They had to cut somewhere. Overreact? The word stung more than I expected. How could he reduce years of sacrifice to something so trivial? Cut somewhere. I shot back, my voice rising despite my attempt to stay calm. "I've been there for everything. For Ethan, for you, for this family, and now I'm cut." He groaned, irritated. "You're too sensitive. It's his night. Don't make it a thing." Too sensitive? The accusation burned in my ears. I wasn't being dramatic. I was being erased. I opened my mouth to argue, but stopped when my phone buzzed. "Ethan." My stomach churned as I read his message. "It's my day, Lauren. Not about you." His words hit like ice water, freezing me mid-breath. Not about me. I wanted to scream, to remind him of every late-night pep talk, every dollar I'd given, every time I'd picked up the pieces when he fell apart. But instead, I stared at the screen, my hands shaking. I called him next, hoping, maybe foolishly, that he'd explain. He didn't answer. Instead, Another text came through, colder than the last. Chill, Lauren. Enjoy your night off. Off. As if I were some distant acquaintance who RSVP'd no. My pulse hammered in my temples. Did they really think I'd shrug this off? That I'd accept their dismissal without question? I paced the room, the hardwood creaking under my socks, replaying their words. Dad's "don't make it a thing" echoed alongside Ethan's "not about you." Together, they formed a chorus of rejection, each syllable carving deeper into me. This wasn't just about a party. It was about years of feeling invisible, of giving until I was hollow. And now, when I needed them to see me, they turned away. The night Ethan's promotion party unraveled was a spectacle I could never have imagined. But then again, chaos always seemed to follow him. Mia's texts came in rapid fire, each one more shocking than the last. Lauren, Ethan's party just imploded. Cops showed up. It's a mess. My stomach churned as I scrolled through her messages. Apparently, Ethan had gotten wasted within an hour of the event starting, his usual charm disintegrating into unchecked rage. He started yelling at his boss. Yes, the same VP who promoted him, slamming his fist on the table and accusing him of unfair pressure. The scene turned ugly fast. Witnesses said he stumbled toward the DJ booth, knocking over equipment before security intervened. Then came the final blow. His boss fired him on the spot, shouting loud enough for half the rooftop to hear. "You're done, Ethan." But the nightmare didn't end there. By midnight, Mia sent me a blurry screenshot, a photo of Ethan in handcuffs, red-faced, and screaming while blue police lights flashed behind him. Comments flooded his social media. What happened to Ethan? Poor guy, poor guy. My jaw tightened. This wasn't some tragic fall from grace. This was years of reckless behavior boiling over. And yet, the worst was still to come. Hours later, another text hit my phone, this time from Mia herself. "Ethan took your car last night, the hatchback you lent him months ago, and totaled it." Totaled? My breath caught as she explained. In a drunken haze, Ethan sped away from Dad's house after a fight, pushing the car to 100 miles per hour on winding mountain roads. He lost control, slamming into a roadside barrier. The impact ignited the engine, sending flames roaring into the night sky. Firefighters arrived too late to save the vehicle, and the crash caused significant damage to public property. A guardrail destroyed, road closures stretching for miles. The local news picked up the story, labeling Ethan as a reckless driver under the influence, further humiliating our family. By morning, Dad called me, his voice laced with panic. "Lauren, this is bad. Ethan's jobless, hysterical, and now there's a lawsuit. He has to pay tens of thousands for the damages." His words clawed at me, but not because I felt sorry for them. It was the audacity, the sheer gall, that burned. They expected me to swoop in, to clean up Ethan's wreckage once again. But this wasn't just about a ruined car or a botched career. It was about accountability. Ethan had torched everything, his reputation, his relationships, and now my trust, all in one explosive night. As I stared at Mia's texts, anger simmered beneath my skin. How dare they frame this as my fault? If I'd been invited to the party, if they hadn't erased me so callously, maybe someone would have stopped Ethan before it spiraled out of control. But no, they wanted me invisible until disaster struck. Now, with their world crumbling, they begged me to return. "Sorry, Ethan. Sorry, Dad. I'm done being your safety net." The phone buzzed incessantly, its shrill vibration cutting through the quiet of the cabin. I glanced at the screen, Dad. Again, my chest tightened as I let it ring out, knowing exactly what he wanted. Ethan's voice had already slurred through a dozen voicemails, each one more desperate than the last. "Sis, I need you. Please come home." Home. The place where they erased me, blamed me, and now expected me to swoop in like some miracle worker? Not this time. When I finally answered, Dad didn't waste a second. "Lauren, you're selfish. Your family needs you." His words hit like a sledgehammer, but not because they hurt. It was the audacity. Selfish? After years of being their safety net, their fix-it girl, their endless reservoir of sacrifice. Selfish was skipping a promotion party. Selfish wasn't driving 3 hours in the rain to rescue Ethan when his life unraveled. Yet here we were, with him accusing me of abandoning them while Ethan sobbed in the background, claiming his world was collapsing because I wasn't there. "You think this is my fault?" I shot back, my voice sharp enough to cut glass. You uninvited me, Dad. You let Ethan post photos of his big night without so much as mentioning me. And now you're blaming me for his mess. My pulse thundered in my ears as I continued. I've spent 15 years cleaning up after both of you. 15 years of listening to Ethan's excuses, of covering for him when he crashed cars, lost jobs, or maxed out credit cards. What did I get? A block number on Instagram and a lecture about being too sensitive. Dad groaned, exasperated. Family steps up, Lauren. That's what we do. Family. This wasn't family. It was a toxic cycle of dependency and blame. No, I said firmly, my resolve hardening. What you do is take, and take, and take until there's nothing left. I'm done fixing your problems. Ethan made his choices, and now he can face the consequences. Before he could argue further, I hung up. My hands trembled as I opened my phone settings and blocked both Dad and Ethan. The silence that followed was deafening and liberating. Their texts kept coming, frantic and accusatory. Lauren, how could you leave us like this? Ethan says he's falling apart because of you. Each message felt like a hammer striking an already cracked wall, but I refused to crumble. They thought I'd cave, that I'd rush back to mend their chaos, but they were wrong. For once, I wasn't their emergency contact, their fallback plan, their scapegoat. I stared out the window, the Blue Ridge Mountains standing steadfast against the horizon. If Ethan wanted to spiral, fine. If Dad wanted to point fingers, fine. I wasn't carrying their weight anymore. Blocking them wasn't just an act of defiance. It was a declaration of freedom. The Blue Ridge Mountains became my sanctuary, their peaks whispering promises of freedom I hadn't known I craved. In Asheville, North Carolina, I found something I'd forgotten existed: peace. Each morning, I woke to the crisp mountain air, sunlight streaming through the cabin windows like a warm embrace. For days, I wandered trails littered with golden leaves, my camera slung over my shoulder, capturing moments that felt raw and real, unlike the chaos I'd left behind. My Instagram feed transformed from a graveyard of ignored posts to a gallery of life. Sunsets painting the sky crimson, mist curling around jagged ridges, and me, finally untethered. One evening, as I soaked in the hot tub overlooking the valley, my phone buzzed, an email notification. A local art gallery owner had seen my photos online. Your work caught my eye, she wrote. We're looking for freelance photographers for our spring catalog. 500 start. 500 wasn't fortune, but it was validation, a lifeline thrown not by Ethan or Dad, but by someone who saw value in me. I replied instantly, my heart racing with a mix of disbelief and hope. This wasn't just money. It was proof that I could stand on my own, create something meaningful without leaning on anyone else. But the surprises didn't stop there. Days later, another call came, this time from a lawyer named Mr. Harris. His voice was calm yet firm. Ms. Lauren, I specialize in family disputes. I came across your case through social media discussions about Ethan's reckless behavior and property damage involving your vehicle. He paused briefly before continuing. You deserve justice. Let us help you reclaim what's rightfully yours. Justice? The word felt foreign yet empowering. For years, I'd been the one cleaning up messes. Not anymore. With his guidance, I began drafting legal claims against Ethan and Dad, demanding accountability for their actions. As I scrolled through supportive comments under my latest photo, a serene shot of misty mountains bathed in dawn light, I realized how far I'd come. Once, I feared abandonment. Now, I welcomed solitude. Every message from friends praising my courage fueled my resolve. Even Mia texted, Lauren, you're unstoppable. Unstoppable. It was a word I'd never associated with myself until now. As I packed my bags at the end of the week, ready to return home, I knew this trip wasn't an escape. It was a rebirth. Asheville gave me more than fresh air. It gave me purpose. And no matter what awaited me back in the city, I vowed never to let them pull me back into their storm again. When I returned home, it wasn't to the chaos I'd left behind. It was on my terms. Asheville had given me clarity, a quiet confidence that buzzed beneath my skin like electricity. The city felt different now, less suffocating, more mine. Ethan's world, however, was unraveling faster than I could have imagined. Mia's texts painted a grim picture. Ethan lost everything. The job, your car, even his apartment. He's crashing at Dad's, but they're fighting nonstop. Her words didn't bring satisfaction, they brought relief. Finally, they were facing the consequences of their actions without expecting me to swoop in and save them. Dad called every day, his voicemails growing increasingly frantic. "Lauren, this is your fault. If you'd been here," his voice cracked, raw with desperation. But I didn't listen. I couldn't. Their problems weren't mine anymore. Instead, I focused on building my life. A small studio apartment tucked into the suburbs, its walls bare but brimming with potential. It wasn't luxurious, but it was sanctuary. For the first time, I had space to breathe, to create. My camera became my constant companion, capturing moments that felt authentic. Sunlight streaming through blinds, raindrops clinging to window panes, the quiet beauty of solitude. One evening, as I unpacked boxes in my new home, I found an old notebook filled with scribbled thoughts, reminders of who I used to be before I let their needs consume me. On a fresh page, I wrote a letter to Dad, short and unapologetic. I gave everything for this family, but now I need to live for myself. I didn't send it, not because I was afraid, but because it wasn't for him. It was for me, a declaration of independence etched in ink. Meanwhile, Ethan spiraled further. Rumors spread about his reckless behavior. He'd trashed Dad's living room during one of their fights, leaving shattered glass and splintered furniture in his wake. Friends whispered about how he begged former colleagues for references, only to be met with silence. Financial ruin loomed over him like a storm cloud, yet he still refused to take responsibility. Every update from Mia fueled my resolve. This wasn't just karma, it was accountability, a lesson neither of them seemed capable of learning until now. As I stood on my balcony one crisp morning, coffee steaming in my hands, I realized something profound. I no longer carried their weight. The guilt, the obligation, the endless cycle of fixing, it was gone. In its place was freedom, fierce and unyielding. Below me, suburban streets stretched out, quiet and orderly. Up here, I was untouchable. For once, I wasn't Lauren, the daughter or sister who sacrificed everything. I was Lauren, the woman who chose herself. The hardest lesson I learned wasn't about love or family, it was about boundaries. For years, I poured myself into a bottomless well, feeding Ethan's crises and Dad's neglect, believing that sacrifice equaled devotion. But what I didn't realize was that every time I said yes to them, I whispered no to myself. The night Ethan unfollowed me on Instagram felt like a knife twisting deeper, not because of the action itself, but because it symbolized everything. Their inability to see my worth unless it served them. When they erased me from Ethan's promotion party, they weren't just cutting me out. They were erasing years of loyalty, nights spent worrying, dollars handed over when I had nothing left to give. What saved me wasn't staying, it was leaving. Escaping to Asheville wasn't an act of cowardice, it was survival. In those mountains, surrounded by silence and starlight, I finally heard my own voice for the first time in decades. It told me I deserved better than being treated as disposable, as someone whose value expired the moment I stopped solving their problems. Freedom doesn't come wrapped in apologies or guilt trips. It comes when you stop letting others define your worth. Blocking Ethan and Dad's numbers wasn't easy, but it was necessary. Each missed call, each unanswered plea, felt like shedding layers of toxic expectations until all that remained was me. When the gallery owner reached out, offering me freelance work, it wasn't just validation. It was proof that happiness isn't built on approval. True freedom isn't waiting for someone to say, "You're enough." It's knowing it yourself, even if no one else does. Watching the sun rise over the Blue Ridge Mountains, I realized something profound. Self-worth isn't negotiable. You can't trade it for scraps of gratitude or fleeting moments of acknowledgement. If I'd stayed, if I'd kept patching their cracks, I would have lost myself entirely. Now, sitting in my new apartment with its quiet hum of possibility, I understand this truth. Sometimes, walking away is the bravest thing you can do. Leaving behind the weight of their chaos didn't make me selfish. It made me whole. Happiness. It doesn't bloom where you're needed. It grows where you're valued. And for once, I'm choosing to be valued, not by Ethan, not by Dad, but by myself.